everyone. Probably tired of seeing me up here. As you can see, I have some new gear on. If you want this wonderful scarf, please go out to the desk out there. Chef is cooking it up really good for you. So, let's see. So, our panel today is around Bitcoin in the workforce. Amazing panelists with us today. And let me get them up here. We have first Okin. Hopefully, am I going to say, hold on one second. Let me say your name correctly. Okin Tenjagarero. I'm off. and then Dom Bay. Dom Bay. Please welcome both of them today. Yes. How do you say that? Songarero. So it's great to have you guys up here today. I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourself and tell the audience what it is that you do. You have a mic? You have a mic? Okay.
My name is Dom Bay. I am a fire captain from Santa Monica. I work for the Santa Monica Fire Department. And I started a nonprofit called Proof of Workforce, whose mission is to help workers, wage earners, labor unions, pension funds, and sometimes municipalities learn about Bitcoin with education-based initiatives and help them get off zero.
I know I should have gone first. My name is Oken, or Nikolai Shongarero. I'm the founder of EasySats and Bitcoin mining in Namibia. Basically with EasySats, what we do is we try to make it that Namibians aren't left behind in this, global rush for knowledge of what Bitcoin is and how to utilize it. So we try to make it easy for people to understand how to get their Bitcoin, how to store it properly, and how to utilize it without needing to come back to us. And in that we talk to regulators, we talk to industry leaders to make sure that they don't just understand Bitcoin from an outside perspective of what they were told, but literally from what they can see from a proof of work perspective.
Thank you guys. And I guess this panel is about us exploring basically what's going on in the financial system and how it is affecting people that are working, people that are actually wage earners, and how you guys are trying to alleviate some of the pains that they deal with. Can you tell us, either one or both, what do you feel like is wrong right now with the current financial system? Like, what is, and it's different, it's gonna be different, right? We have Santa Monica from the US, right? And we have Okin from Namibia, so it's gonna be a little bit different. So I would love to hear what you guys think both ways, what's wrong with the financial system.
From a Namibian perspective, our banks are pretty predatory. Like the central bank themselves put out, like last year, I think it was the beginning of this year, end of last year, they put out a report on all of the banks and the point of sale machine charges, like the bank charges for each bank for just holding money for a month. And what you saw from that was the central bank didn't hide anything. They were like, yo, this is wrong. Like what you guys are doing and how you're charging people is insane. So from that standpoint, we could infer a lot of things. Like, I'll give you an example. There's 9 banks in Namibia, right? Across the 9 banks, if you take all their point of sale charges and you average them out, that comes down to every time you swipe, you're using $3 Namibian in charges, right? And at the same time, I took my last 9 Bitcoin transactions, like buying stuff like food and whatever, and I averaged out the costings, and it was 81 cents. So that difference for a person that's maybe not earning that much, but I have to spend, like, from my bank account every time I'm losing money, you know what I mean? So a lot of people can't see that because they have never had a alternative to that system. It was just, this is how it is. But since that report came out from the Central Bank of Namibia, it really opened a lot of people's eyes to, we're getting robbed for our own money by putting it in the bank. So I'd say the real problem is not just what the banks are doing, but how they're able to hide it, what they're doing, like underneath the assumption that it's the norm,
Yeah, that's right on. Ultimately, for the wage earner, the financial system is a fine-tuned machine that has perfected the art form of extracting time and energy from the wage earner, one, without them knowing it, and two, with no recourse. And how do they do that? Primarily through running deficits and printing money out of thin air. So they bypass proof of work completely. And for the wage earner, this is like being, a fish in the sea and you have a shark. And that is the financial system that is deadly hunter as far as extracting that time and energy from the wage earner.
So I guess the next question I have is, why is Bitcoin the solution to these problems?
So on the flip side of what we just talked about as the problem, Bitcoin is the opposite. It is a machine that is being fine-tuned and perfected to protect the time and energy of the wage earner. And so in this sense, right, it's the complete opposite of that. It is a protector of the wage earner. And so if you are going to put your time and energy into working, if you're going to go work a construction site, if you're going to work as a firefighter, you are sacrificing your labor, your time, your energy for something in return, as we mentioned, that is being basically, that's being extracted from you, what you've earned. Bitcoin's the opposite. It is protecting that by making it mandatory to engage in proof of work, where you cannot bypass proof of work to engage with the system.
Well said, well said. Just to add on to that, I think with Bitcoin, it gives people a sense of like what is actually happening. They don't even know that they have low time preference while they're dealing with the banks until you introduce something like Bitcoin and they're like, what do you mean I can increase my purchasing power over time by just, holding this? And then it just opens. I'll give you an example. You were talking about construction workers. So one of my really good friends, known him since I was 6 years old. Like he's a construction worker. He helps build banks and stuff. But he doesn't have a bank account. He's never had a bank account in his life because he's like, I don't understand why you get to take from my money. When I introduced him to Bitcoin, he was like, what do you mean? Like, literally, he attended one Treasury Academy session and his mind, the switch flipped on for him. And he's out there busy telling people, you need to understand, if I give you $1 million Namibian today, and I tell you got to hold it for a year, you're not going to have $1 million. Like, even though you didn't spend anything just by leaving it in the bank. But if I give you $1 million Satoshis today, and you hold it till next year, and you didn't spend it, you're going to have $1 million Satoshis. That in itself is like a mind fart for people. They're like, what do you mean? So Bitcoin is a solution to a problem people didn't even know was there. It was like behind a curtain, and now it's just got a light on it where they're like, oh wait, this is an actual problem in my life because I'm losing value every day that I worked for. Again, I put in those proof of work and you're able to extract it with no proof of work from me. So Bitcoin solves that for me, or for them, for everybody, I think.
Right, and I love having this panel because you're seeing it from two different perspectives, right? From the States and then here in Africa. And the States, of course, has the benefit of having the global reserve currency for the most part. You can go anywhere in the world and people will take dollars. But that's not necessarily the same with many of the currencies here in Africa. And so I think this next question is going to lean toward, what are some of the challenges that you have with getting workers to look at Bitcoin as an alternative for freedom? And I want to see what's the difference between you guys. Is it easier in Africa because they have a more prevalent problem, like the problem is in your face, whereas it's like the slow drain in the United States, like the slow leak in the tire, right? So I would love to hear this. Because both places have inflation issues. Let's not get it twisted, right? But one just seems, people don't recognize it in one place, and the other place you can see it more prevalent. So what do you guys think about that?
So there are a ton of challenges in orange pilling a wage earner, right? Especially on something new as Bitcoin. But here's the number one that I have found, and I'm going to use an example of this room. If we were let's say we were talking about some subject, history, math, or science, whatever. If I set a fire in the middle of the room, I highly doubt that us here would be focused on what I'm saying and listening and learning, right? And why is that? It's because the fear emotional response takes over completely. And we underestimate the power of fear in our daily lives. And for workers and wage earners, the fear that exists in them for from what I would describe as one of the most successful decade-long attack campaigns on Bitcoin cannot be overstated. That fear is real. So in the challenges of orange pilling workers in the workforce, an initiative that you put forward has to neutralize that fear so they can learn what this thing is that they're holding. It's so important, and I would say it's the #1 challenge that I've found.
From a Namibian perspective, what I've found is there's a lot of scams. You have to understand, like when people are not able to earn money, when you have an unemployment rate that's probably higher than 40%, we still haven't gotten the figures, the official figures yet, but when this is your reality, and people are coming to you saying, hey, I have the answer to your problems, and your auntie got scammed by something else, and your friend got scammed by something, and people will come and they'll be like, yo, no, I know somebody that got scammed by Bitcoin, and you're like, no, they got scammed by a scammer. Bitcoin didn't even know you were there. So like, the first hurdle that I have is the misinformation hurdle of like, what is Bitcoin in a Namibian context? And then from there, it's a thing of like, okay, how do I describe it to you? Because I cannot come to you and talk to you about decentralization, peer-to-peer marketplaces and things like that when you're thinking, how am I getting bread on the floor, on the table tonight? You're not even thinking about that type of context. So now I need to come to you and have a conversation. And I think the biggest problem was initially, I was trying to orange pill people, instead of having a conversation with people and saying, okay, what are your pain points? And let me see how Bitcoin solves that. So I think that was my biggest hurdle, even beyond the scams.
No, I think that's awesome because, of course, we in the States, we orange peel, right? We're not talking about the same problems you're talking about. But like you said, when you're talking about your problems, it's a whole lot, like you have to meet people where they are, like I said earlier. And I think that's pretty cool. But here's my question. What are some of the best practices you've seen that actually have gotten people to basically jump on that life raft? Like, how have you gotten people off the Titanic, so to speak?
Well, for me, it's, again, the conversation helps because they see you hearing them, not speaking at them, right? So that's one of the biggest ones, is like not to speak at people, but to speak with them and try to bring them into the solution that they are saying, oh, I think I understand what the solution is, instead of like you telling them the solution. And the second one is like showing them how Bitcoin works. I always tell people, well, recently, like, don't tell them how to play the PlayStation, put the controller in their hand. None of us learned how to play TV games by people telling us how to do it. It's because we used the tool, we actually had it. So that for me is the greatest thing, is to say, not just give them Bitcoin and say, hey, come with me, let's go to the bar, let's argue about Bitcoin, and then I'm going to pay for our drinks and food in Bitcoin because they accept Bitcoin. That does something in somebody's mind to say, wait, you just paid for our food? Like, so I think for me, it's really the proof of work, but right. Public proof of work.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah, I think not letting individuals and groups, don't let their risk or their perceived risk outpace their understanding of what Bitcoin is. I'll give you an example of that. Santa Monica firefighters, the first union in the United States to hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet, we started them off with an initiative that was $1 per member. Now, when you hear that, you go like, what? Like, that's not meaningful, it's not impactful. Well, what it does is, anytime you have a group of people, there's about 10% on one side and 10% on the other side and 80% in the middle. When you reduce the fear and the risk, you allow people to evaluate the opportunity for what it is, and you don't let the small vocal minority of the fear mongers, they can't take over. Because imagine if us in this room, we all just put $1 in Bitcoin, and then someone came up and said, you guys are crazy, you're gonna lose your money, this is gonna be the end of the world, and you say, whoa, you're like, are you okay? Are you upset? Like, are you good, bro? Like, let's learn about this thing. And so neutralizing that, and as far as effective tools, like Okim was saying, taking them like making it not so scary. Just saying, like, let's touch this thing. Let's open a wallet. Let's send some sats. And there's like so many people doing great work on that here.
Yeah, I think early on in Bitcoin for me, we used to give Bitcoin out a lot. Like, that's the thing. Get your wallet, man. Here's some Bitcoin. That's how it was, right? And I think the whole new number go up hodl crowd doesn't like to give away Bitcoin to new people. But I think it is extremely powerful, even if it's $1, right? There's a guy that hits me up. I gave him $5 worth or something. Yeah, and he always is like, I owe you lunch every time I see him, right? And I think that's the kind of thing, like you start giving it out, you start basically giving, and I think that's how another way they can get the adoption.
If I can just quickly, I just want to add to that. That wouldn't work in Namibia. I started out with that.
You did?
Giving people Bitcoin, because I was earning Bitcoin, so I would use my own Bitcoin and give it over. But what I realized is people don't want handouts, right? I already earned Bitcoin, so what I did was I switched it from giving people Bitcoin to showing them how they can earn it, right? For things like playing games, writing an article, reading an article, listening to a podcast, things they were already doing but didn't know that they could earn Bitcoin for. That has a longer, but in the like in a Namibian context, I can see how giving them $1 could also do the same thing. But yeah, I think that earning is a good one to add to it.
No, that's awesome to know. That's the reason why I love this panel, because we don't get this all the time, right? Especially in the States, like we don't hardly have panels where we have like the same problem, right? But two different types of solutions depending on where we are. I guess how much time? My time person's not there. How much time do I have left? Nobody knows. Let's just stay here all day.
Since this is a working class panel, we can't have time card theft.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, don't be stealing our time,
Yeah, let's, because I just want to make sure we stay on top of it, but let's keep going. I guess my question is to you, how often do you find people that are afraid, like the fear thing you were saying, in both places, that you've been able to flip? Like they're afraid first, and then how did you flip them from being afraid to this being the best thing that they've seen? Like how did you, tell me, because people need to know so they can have something practical to take home. Like what do I need to do to get this person off of zero, as you say?
So you mentioned meeting people where they are, right? And as Bitcoiners, our instinct a lot of the times when people vocalize their fears about misinformation is to argue with them about how they're wrong, right? Bitcoin's bad for the environment. What's their response? No, it's not. Here's why. Bitcoin, you're going to lose it. It's a scam. No, it's not. Here's why, right? And so meeting them where they are and just letting them have those things and saying, that's okay if you believe that, but can we still learn about this thing and do something very small that's risk-free? That's what I found.
I think for my part, again, it's a relational thing. When I, like he was saying, like what Dom was saying, go meet people where they are, like literally where you go. Like start at, what's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite bar? Go there, pester them for a while. That's what I did. And they were like, okay, we're tired. We'll give you a venue, like just, you get the venue for free. Just come and throw an event. And then after the event, they were like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was like, what's your slowest selling day? They were like Thursdays. I was like, what's the cheapest stuff on your menu? A beer and burger. I'm like, every Thursday I'll sit here from lunchtime till you guys close and I'll argue with people about Bitcoin, about why it's not what they think it is. If you guys allow me to do burgers and beers for Bitcoin, right? And then you guys just hold it until if you feel uncomfortable, I'll take it from you. But what happened was they held it for 3 years, right? And then like when they moved venues, they couldn't sell any alcohol because they didn't have a liquor license. But every day they were able to pay all of the employees because they had Bitcoin that they held for 3 years, so they could shave off and make sure everybody could go home and feed their families. So now their employees are family. They're not trying to leave that establishment because they've seen that even when these guys aren't earning, they're going to take care of us. So now it creates another communal effect that nobody was thinking of. Oh, it's decentralized. That's not going to do that for you. So meeting them where they are is also, where do you go? Meet those people, talk to them like you normally do, but about something.
Right. I think one of the things you just said, time, right? I think everybody gets it over time. You'll tell somebody about Bitcoin, and of course the number has gone up, and they all come at that point. I promise you, every time we all have an all-time high, I get 50 inboxes. Every single time. And it's the same people that I said, if you want to get off zero, get some now and then they'll wait 5 years and then get in my inbox again. So my question is, how do you convey the message of time and having a low time preference? How do you convey that to them to make sure that people are patient? They have to understand that there is some patience that is needed in this.
Well, for me, be available when they come back. Don't be a bad guy when they come back and be like, I told you so. And no, like, be available when they come back. I know everybody wants to be smug, like I told you, but like, I've had people that for 5 years I've been talking to about Bitcoin. Like 2 years ago they listened, some only came now, 100,000, like, oh, congratulations, Oken. I'm like, congratulations for what?
Yeah.
Like, you're still not.
I want you in it, yeah.
I want you to come with me. Like, this is a journey. And I really think that time, you just have to, like when they say everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve, I think we also need to say everybody gets Bitcoin in the time frame that they deserve. They also got to go through it and be like, what is this? It's a journey. It's not a destination. Like literally, I see Bitcoin as a journey in that way. And I think that's what we need to kind of change the way we interact with normies about Bitcoin.
I think zooming out, the hardest challenge we face as workers and wage earners is swallowing the tough pill that we are not going to be the billionaire in life, and we're not going to leapfrog 10 social classes to become kings overnight. The minute that we can realize we have an opportunity to improve our lives, but more importantly, leave something for the next generation. And if you can zoom out and do that, you will be successful in Bitcoin because you'll have the patience to learn, to build, and to hold over time. And that is super important to getting people to get over that concept.
Man, great answers. So, I guess this is the last one. The last one. There goes my time, guy. So my last question is there anything you want to say to wrap up? This has been a very informative panel. Thank you guys. I appreciate you a lot. Hopefully you guys got some stuff from that. But what are some of the final things that you would like to say that we can do as action items to help you guys achieve your goals wherever you are?
Okay, I'll start. Mine is pretty short. What I would say is, again, like firstly, meet people where they are and put the PlayStation controller in their hands. Don't speak to them like you're trying to lecture to a university class. Like if you understand Bitcoin, you should be able to use normal language to speak to somebody on why this helps them, why it's helped you, which is also a great thing. Talk from a personal standpoint, not from a Satoshi Nakamoto standpoint, and a lot more people will understand what you're saying. But more than anything, find a way to put the PlayStation controller in their hands. That's what I'd say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine's short too. So to finish, proof of work, right, is something I want to leave people with. So with that, and speaking of time, I want to do a little something special. I want to call up the Secretary General and the CEO of Kenfiba, the Kenya National Fire Brigade Association, and get them on stage because we're going to do a little bit of history here in Kenya. And I want to get Mags, our board member, and Noylin, if she's out here, and also Jadam, if he's out here. Come on stage real quick. This is going to be real fast. 1 minute. Good. Okay, so with what we did was we raised a little bit of funds, and so this is the labor association that represents the firefighters, and in the funds that we raised, I'm going to give them a symbolic wallet representing their custody now of Bitcoin. And they become the first labor union in the country of Kenya to hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And so please give them a round of applause. They're firefighters and they're amazing people. Thank you guys. Hey, get up in here too. Yeah, get up in here, come on. We're just gonna do a quick photo. So this is a moment in history right now, and hopefully labor unions will continue to find Bitcoin and add it to the balance sheet.